So thank you everyone for joining us. We'll have a quick shiur because it's Erev Pesach, but I really wanted to touch the wonders of this week because it has special wonders for Pesach, and that's very important for everyone to be ready for the Seder. We'll start by saying that this study group is for a very speedy refuah shalema for our beloved Rabbi Yitzchak ben Breina Malka, and for our friend Bluma Bat Ginen Del Tova, my kid that's here, Levia Ovia. Sweet, he's on me trying to listen to the shiur. And finally to my kid, Rachanilot Tinok Ben Ayala, that is in the hospital that was supposed to have a surgery today, unfortunately, or fortunately, but Bezrat Hashem for sure, Latova will be for the best. He did not have it at the end. So everyone should have Geula, redemption of all the, and we learned in Purim, when we learned about Purim, we learned that Amalek, the biggest form of Amalek is illness, is death. That's the most inner Amalek, the worst of Amalek is bad health. That Be'ezrat Hashem, we should be redeemed from that and have a great Geula. We should also mention that we're getting out of Yud Aleph Nisan, which is the birthday of our Rabbi, the Lubavitch Rebbe, that Rabbi Ginzburg, and everyone is very connected to him, our whole generation. And with all that, we'll start. And going back to what we were saying that this week's wonders are very special. And the reason is because everyone should be prepared for Pesach. And we're going to learn in this week that everyone has to be like the same way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has his son. And we'll say a very short, beautiful story that I must say that I just remembered. That one of my very favorite tzaddikim, recent tzaddikim, very special person, Rabbi Shlomke Mizvil, very special tzaddik. And he was at a very crazy times, about 100 and some years ago. And at those times, there was a lot of bad things that happened to the Jews, whether it's physical bad things. This is before the Holocaust. This is more of in Russia and Ukraine and the whole area. They had a lot of fighting. And obviously any side that fought, whether it's the Reds or the Whites or any communists or the Bolsheviks and all these different groups, every single one hated the Jews. That was definitely everyone's favorite, is to hate the Jews and kill the Jews. And everyone that came in thought that the Jews were connected to the other side. Very bad times. And through this time shined Rabbi Shlomke from Zvil, very special Jew that ran away from there, had to run away. Very special story of that. But the story I wanted to bring is one time a guy came to him, and Rabbi Shlomke, unfortunately, his son was off the derech, as we call it. He was not connected to Judaism the way that Rabbi Shlomke and the way that we are, but rather he was. He found some new ideals, communists and crazy things that Baruch Hashem, those ideals are off of today's mainstream. Now there's different types of freedom and other things. Back then it was the opposite. But in any case, this Jew came over to Rav Shlomke and said, "What do we do? My son is off the derech." This Jew was telling Rav Shlomke. And Rav Shlomke was saying to him, "You're right, my son too. It's very sad." And he said to him, "Rav Shlomke, you're a tzaddik. What did you tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Your son is off the derech." And he says, I told him that my son's off the derech." And this guy, I guess, was very close. And he said, "What did HaKadosh Baruch Hu tell you?" So he told me that his sons are also off the derech. That the Kadosh Baruch Hu, that God's sons, the Jews, are off the derech, and a lot of Jews are unfortunately falling for all these new ideals. The communism back then was crazy stuff. So what I wanted to bring from the story, except for reminding us of this very special tzaddik of Shlomke from Zvil, is that everyone should care about his sons, just like HaKadosh Baruch Hu cares about us, his son, the Jews, and that's something that we would talk about a little bit today. But very, very special in this week's wonder. Very special that Rabbi Ginzburg brings the wonders of redemption to the whole world, and he's doing that by connecting Ishmael, the son of Abraham, and Esau, the son of Yitzchak, which are in today's generation, if you take the 70 nations of the world, 35 of them are connecting more to the Islam, and 35 of them connecting more to Christianity, and their various versions. Those are the nations of the world. And by doing the Jewish revolution of revealing these wonders of Torah and revealing the wonders of God to this world, you can even connect all the nations of the world to God, even those. And we'll go into a little bit how to do that, how to see that through the wonders of this week. I'm going to share a screen so that everyone can see it. I saw the problem with sharing the screen, why I don't do it like I used to automatically, is because I saw that it makes the whole screen fill up, and it just doesn't put the video as good. So that's why I'm going to share it a little bit and then maybe take it out. But we can see the wonders of this week, and we'll go straight to the shiur that Rabbi Ginzburg gave. So the shiur starts from the fact that we're the shiur was given. Now today we're already in Yud Aleph Nisan. The shiur was given, which is the 11th day of Nisan. The shiur was given 8th of Nisan, which is a very special day. Obviously, we're all expecting Pesach, which is coming up, but the 8th day of Nisan was 25 years ago. Rabbi Ginzburg was put in jail, literally put in jail in Israel, because he was saying a talk of the Rabbi, and the government was scared that he was going to Chas v'shalom invoke violence, or they had the whole theories and mishigas, and they put him in jail. And there was huge fights, huge uprising against it, and the government released him. The judge heard a very special shiur that Rabbi Ginzburg gave to the judge, and she released him. And so 25 years ago, on the 8th day of Nisan, is the redemption of Rabbi Ginzburg from jail. So it's a very special day for this generation, as we all are connected to the wonders that Rabbi Ginzburg gave. And just like by the Alter Rebbe and every Rebbe of Chabad, including the Lubavitch Rebbe, which has his birthday today, everyone was captured, was in jail. And this is our jail. And the jail, as we know from the first Rebbe of Chabad, putting a Rebbe in jail is really trying to put his Torah, his revealing of these wonders in prison, and releasing from it is Shamayim, that God and heaven and all the tzaddikim above are fighting for it, to say, no, we want to reveal, we want to be able to have these wonders in this generation, and that's why we celebrate the release from prison. So this class was given on the 8th day of Nisan. And Rabbi Ginzburg first points out, the first thing to point out is that there's 15 things that we say in 15 steps that we do in Leila Seder, meaning if you look, and this is something beautiful, I must stop and say, that one of the beautiful things that we learn from Rabbi Ginzburg is to have like a bigger picture, like to take a Parshah, to take a part of Torah, to take any part that we're doing. For example, there's the holiday of Passover. and more so the Leila Seder, the night of the Seder is this simple translation of Seder is to organize. So this night, the very special first night of this holiday of Passover, to take it and kind of look at it from above, from a bigger picture, from a broad-eye view. And when we look at it, we say, and we sing this, Kadeshu Chatz, Karpas Yachatz, we sing all the steps that we're going to do. The kids, Bezrat Hashem, everyone should be blessed to be with his kids and to sing the 15 steps, Magid, Rachza, etc. And so there's 15 steps to the Seder. Except for those steps, there's also four cups. But except for that, there's also three more steps that Rabbi Ginzburg speaks about. Again, so there's 15 steps, part of the Haggadah. Everyone can look in their Haggadah. I'll stop to say that one of the beauties is the Haggadah, the book of the first night of Pesach, is published in amazing amount of versions, and almost every generation brings out a version. Of course, Rabbi Ginzburg has his Haggadah that everyone should have on the Seder. We as a family, and I'm sure everyone else likes to have various different Haggadahs. To have, I know there's a collectors of Haggadah. There's a Reform rabbi that's actually big on collecting Haggadot, and he has, I don't know, many of them from many different generations. So in Leila Seder, there's 15 steps that we said. There's 4 cups, and finally there is 3 final steps, which is the cup that we bring for Eliyahu, for Elijah, the final Navi that presents us with redemption. There's the songs that we sing after the Haggadah, very special songs, Chad Gadya and Vayhi B'Chatzi Halayla, very special time right after. Chabad is not big into songs in general. Rabbi Ginzburg once said that one of the special things that everyone doing tshuva, everyone that's getting closer to Yiddishkeit should first connect through other ways and then through Chabad, because Chabad is not big Chabad is not big into song, and we know that songs are big. Songs is like to fall into Hashem, God's hands. Someone asked in the chat where we can collect the Haggadah of Rabbi Ginzburg. Again, the easiest way is to email Eliezer or email Galei, and I go on the website and they will try to connect you with one. There's one more question that someone's asking. The melody for the 15 steps. So there's several of them that people sing. Some of them go like this. It goes Kadesh Uchatz Karpas Yachad. That's one. And also there's Kadesh Uchatz Karpas. There's several melodies for it. Again, you can look it up, Baruch Hashem, today online. They have all these different versions. To continue, again, there's a lot to cover today and we're limited on time. So we'll just continue through this. We're trying to show a wonderful wonder in the Haggadah. When you look at the bigger picture, you're seeing 15 steps, 4 cups, and 3 final steps, which is the cup of Eliyahu, the songs after the Haggadah, and the Song of Songs that, again, people that are accustomed to read off the Shir HaShirim, the Song of King Solomon, after the Haggadah. Together, we have 22. And we know that in Kabbalah, they explain that the whole creation of this world is through the 22 letters of Torah. Something very interesting, I know people heard there's a movie that came out called The Matrix. it's a Goyish movie that they actually did it with people that studied a little bit of Kabbalah. Most of them not, uh, all of them are not really connected through Torah, which means they have a lot of mistakes and problems. But the core concept that they had there is that this whole world is created from letters. That concept is actually a real concept. That God, when God says a letter, for example, Yehi Rakia, it's a couple letters, a combination of letters. Those letters are actually what's holding the heaven in the world. It's a very deep in Kabbalah inner secret of Kabbalah of this world. That this world is built based on the 22 steps, and that's how the world was created from. It's called Seder Ishtalshalut. We're not going to get into it that much, but that's those 22 letters of the alphabet present the creation of this world, and those 22 letters are also it's represented in the 15 steps and the 7 other steps, including the cups, etc., that are in the Leila Seder. So again, if someone is very much into Kabbalah and people that are just very excited like us to see these wonders in the Haggadah of Rabbi Ginzburg, at the end, there's a lot of explanations of how to connect all these steps to the steps of creation of this world. So that's the first secret for the Seder. And again, the easiest thing that you can take is to show the kids that there's 22 things that we're going to do tonight. There's 22 special things, and that there's 22 letters in the alphabet. Very simple and easy thing to show kids for tonight, the Passover holiday. And I do hope that people that do watch us on YouTube will be able to watch us before Yom Tov, even though we're very close. In the middle of cleaning for Pesach, we stopped to have this class, so everyone should have a very happy time cleaning. We'll continue a little bit, even though we're going to be a little bit short because of that. The next step that Rabbi Ginzburg wants to talk about is the 4 sons. What are the 4 sons? It's a very special part of the Haggadah of the Leila Seder. There's one son that is a smart son, Echad Chacham, Echad Rasha, and we are noticing, and Rabbi Ginzburg is pointing out, that every time we speak about them, we say Echad. Echad is 1. And if we take the letters of Echad, Aleph, Chet, and Daled, 1, 8, and 4, we're 13, the Echad. And if we take Echad and times it by 4 ones, we're getting 52. 52 is Bet Nun, which is Ben, which is son. So you can see the correlation between Echad, 1. Everyone is looked at as special as 1. And we'll see that is what the Russia, the evil, wicked, evil, the translation is very different depending on what you're trying to say. But we can see that the evil son is the one that really wants to point out that we're each individual. We're not part of the collective necessarily, as we will see. But again, first one is the smart son, second is the evil, and then we have the Tam, which is the translation that I would want to say is the simple son. It's just very simple. No chachmas, no not being a smart guy. And the 4th son is the one that does not know how to even ask. Because each one of them we want them to ask, but he doesn't know how to ask. And not knowing how to ask, there's 2 things about asking. You can ask a question, or you can ask as in to borrow, as in to request. So the 4th son, and we're all, each and every one of us has all these 4 sons within him, has the problem is that he's not even asking. Again, when you're giving a shiur, when you're doing a class, when we're Bezrat Hashem going to do with all the family, we're going to celebrate Leila Seder with the kids. The number one thing that we want is for people to participate, is for someone to ask, and that asking is and when someone does not know what to ask or does not feel connected or they feel like they want to ask, um, that's the biggest problem, you can say. Someone could ask good questions, bad questions. He can say smart things or even stupid things or wicked things. But at the end of the day, they're participating. The son that doesn't ask, he doesn't feel like he's connected. He doesn't feel like he has what to ask. He's not even connected enough to ask. When you're giving out, like, let's say you're saying something, you're in business and you're trying to say, let's do this and that. The worst is that when people say, I have no questions. Like, no. You must have some questions. If you have no questions, I'm very nervous that you didn't get what I was trying to say. We want you to have questions. Okay, so these are the four sons. And what Rabbi Ginzburg tries to show is, how do we take these four sons and connect them to the four worlds? There are four levels of this, within creation. There are four levels of world, one on top of each other. It's a thing explained in Kabbalah and Hasidus, that there's the lowest level, which is our level, which is the world of Asiyah, the world of doing. And that's the world that we're in. That's the worst one. Then the higher level of that world, and these worlds are within everything. It's the DNA of the world. The higher level is Yetzirah. It's more the world of Yetzer is also from inclination or from creativity, or it's the more world of your emotions. And meaning, if you look at someone, at the end of the day, you can say there's doing and there's feeling. So that the higher level world is a world of Yetzirah, which is half and half good, half bad. Then the higher than that level is the world of Bria, the world of creation. That's more a world of thinking and thoughts, and it's a higher level world. And the final level is the world of Atzilut, the world of again, this is not a good translation, but I want to translate it as inspiration, as a very high level. So how do they feel in this world? So Rabbi Ginzburg explained that the four levels are: first level is Ein, there's nothing. When you're in the highest level, the world of Atzilut, that world does not have anything within it. It's all what you're getting from God. It's God is so in that world that world does not feel itself at all. It's just very, very connected. I'll give a simple explanation. If you're going and you're seeing a king and you're right next to him, you don't think of yourself right now. There's no room for you. It's just you're fully connected on the king, on what he's doing and all that. The more you're further from the king, the more that you think of yourself and less of the king. So that world is the world of Ein, of nothing, of being fully connected. Then creation, the second level, is the world of Yesh. And again, there's a lot of things to discuss, but there's already something. And then once you're going down to the third world, it's the world of Klal. You're looking at a bigger picture. And then finally, in this world is Prat. And Rabbi Ginzburg explains now, let's take these four sons and connect them to these worlds. So the Chacham, the one that the wise or smart son, what does he do? He thinks of God. He's connected to God, and he's saying, okay, what are the details of the world? He even calls it etchem, because it's not within him. It's outside of him. He's connected to God, but there are details in this world that we have to learn. So what are the details? So that's the smart son. Right after that is the son of the simple son. He's the way he sees it is there's there's something, there's a world, but it's not. There's no details to it. It's just it's a creation. It's a start. So he's the simple one, and then the She'eno Yodea Lishol. It's a third level where it's looking at the whole world as a klal. There's no there's no question yet because there's there is something, but it's still not to the fact that you have questions on it. And finally, the wicked son, and what Rabbi Ginzburg is going to do is he's going to elevate him, but he's thinking of himself, and he sees it as as people as kids like to say, as we like to say, what do I care? When we're looking at it from my area, from my angle, then what is this? What is this work? What is this Layla Seder? So it's a very Rabbi Ginzburg goes into explaining it some more, but it's a very nice analogy that we can have with when we're thinking about these four sons. Is the four levels of the world, and each one is special. Meaning each level you can connect to. As Rabbi Ginzburg said, that there's a machlokas of whether we're called sons of HaKadosh Baruch Hu always ben, or sometimes if we're sinning, we're called Eved, a lower level. And the halacha is that we're always sons, meaning even the lowest son that's asking about himself and caring about himself, and all he can think about is himself, even that level is still echad ben, is still a son that's one that's connected to God. Okay, so that's the first analogy that Rabbi Ginzburg gave. The next one I'm gonna skip a little bit. He speaks about. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna put him down. Give me 1 minute. Sorry about that. The next, Rabbi Ginzburg says, if you look at the bigger picture, if there's four sons, there's a father. And who's the father? So the first father that we say, who sits the four sons, is God. God is putting us together. But Rabbi Ginzburg brings that you could say that the father is Avram. And his four sons, and this is very special, is first his actual sons, which is Ishmael and Yitzchak. And second is his grandsons, which grandsons are considered like sons, which is Yaakov and Esau. So again, the next analogy that Rabbi Ginzburg will do is take these father and sons that we're talking about in the Haggadah and take it to our forefathers. And the actual father that sits everyone, which we're all going to connect to when we have our kids sitting at the table or our guests sitting at the table, is that the first father is Avram. That's the first Jew. And then his four sons are first Yitzchak and Ishmael, and then finally Yaakov and Esau. And how do we put them together? So obviously the tzaddik is Yitzchak, that he's the highest level. He's like Olah, is like Korban. Rabbi Ginzburg didn't bring that. I'm saying that from my angle. Then the next guy, if we want to say who's the Rasha, that we always sit next to the tzaddik. There's a question that the Rasha should be last. Why is he second? Is because the father that's organizing wants to sit the wicked son right next to the righteous son, so he will fix it. That's why Yitzchak has right next to him Esau, and we know that there's a famous shiur that Rabbi Ginzburg gave, that Yitzchak, his desire was to fix Esau, and that's it, and by that to change the world to the good, and that's it. save us the whole exile and Galus and all these years by just fixing Esau. Um, we know that it did not work out, and his wife Rivka did not agree to it. Lots to discuss, and everyone can look at the Rabbi Ginzburg shir about. He called it Zbeng V'Gamarnu, to fix it by hitting it once and finishing it off. That's what Yitzchak wanted to do. But in any case, Yitzchak, the righteous son, in this case, that Avraham is the father, Yitzchak, the righteous son, is sitting right next to Esau. That he was, whenever we say Esau, when you ask a kid, when we talk about Esau, Esau is also the lowest level, Olama Asiyah, the world of doing. His Esau Arasha, he's the wicked son. Right after that, who's the Tam, who's the Tamim, who's the simple in the highest level is Yaakov. Yaakov is Tam. So he's right next to him. And finally, who's Sheino Yodea Lishol? Who's the son that does not know how to ask? That he's the fourth son. That's Yishmael. So that's first a beautiful, beautiful analogy that Rabbi Ginzburg brings from Rabbi Nachman from Breslov about the four sons and how do we put them all together. Now, why is this so special to us? Number one, because Rabbi Nachman and Rabbi Ginzburg bringing it is saying that the whole world could be connected, as Rabbi Ginzburg is bringing with the fourth revolution. That Rabbi Ginzburg is talking about a lot in the last couple of years about the revolution of explaining Torah to everyone, to even non-Jews, and everyone in the world, just spreading the light everywhere, that we see here a proof of how we can connect everyone together. That now there is a difference in the way we talk to them that the Rabbi Ginzburg brings, that usually Esav you can have a conversation with, meaning the Esav is really Rabbi Ginzburg brings in other places. Esav is more the Western world, like Europe and America. That they're more the Esav side, the Christian side of the world. They can understand things. Them you can explain to, as we know that we're answering the wicked. But Ishmael, the Arab side of the world, is more a nation that you just got to do things with. They don't know questions, and if you explain things to them, the Rambam explains that if you explain things to them many times, and again, I'm not saying within everybody there's all these, just like there's these four sons within every nation, it's a bit different, but in general, Yishmael, before you go and explain to him, you have to connect him. Whereas Esav, you can really sit down and explain things to him. So that's a very interesting analogy that Rabbi Ginzburg brings in the name of Reb Nachman from Breslov. And if we do some numerical values, if we take all these names of the seven, Rabbi Ginzburg brings, you can take the seven Ushpizim that we have in Sukkot, the three fathers, and then Moshe and Aaron, the two saviors, Yosef and David, those seven, and add to them Yishmael and Esav, you get 2 times Shema Yisrael, the famous thing that we say 2 times a day, the pasuk that connects us to God. Okay, we're gonna, because of Pesach, we're not gonna have time. I personally have to go back to the cleaning and lots to do still, and I'm sure everyone else is preparing. But we'll just summarize a little bit of what we learned from here. And as I always say, I urge everybody to read as much as you can of the wonders, and especially of the things connected to Pesach that we have. We also have the English newsletter that if you email Eliezer, he can connect you to Moshe Ganoth, who's in charge of that. But the first thing that we said, the very special thing, is that there's 22 steps in the Seder, which are connected to the 22 letters of the alphabet. And then we said 2 analogies. One is that the 4 sons is like the 4 world, that this world is composed of, and we went into that a little bit. And the other is that the four sons are the analogy is that the four sons are the sons of Abraham, the first Jew, the first father, and and his four sons, which include the two sons that are further, Yishmael and Esav, are all the four sons that we want to join together for the final revolution of spreading Torah to the whole world. So Pesach Kasher V'Sameach to everybody, and may we all be very connected to this Leila Seder, and by connecting to it, we'll connect to the Geula Hamitit V'Ashleim, especially on the birthday of Mazal Gova of our beloved Lubavitch Rebbe. That's Nasi Hador, that uplifts, that brings, elevates this whole generation by bringing us these talk about redemption, about Mashiach. And may we all talk about it on Leila Seder and connect to it, and connect to all of our sons and sit our sons by the table, which is a very big challenge, at least with my kids, and get them to connect, to ask questions. One thing I'll say that Rabbi Ginzburg brings, that it says Vayita Eshel beBe'er Sheva, that Avram put a Eshel. Eshel is a tree, but it also has the word of question, the letters of question, she'elah. So that Avram wanted everyone to ask questions. So do we want everyone to ask questions. We want to urge our kids and everyone in this generation to ask questions, and the answers should come from Torah, from our beautiful Torah, and we have Kabbalah and Chassidut in this generation. And with that, we should have redemption, Geula, Mitzit, Vashlema for everyone.